Hi you guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Sabrina Rainique, and on this channel we talk about personal finance, we talk about travel, we talk about lifestyle, and basically living our best lives, whatever that means to us. Today we're going to talk about 10 money habits that everyone should be doing if they want to take control of their financial futures. So these habits are really for people who have set their financial foundation already, so meaning that they already have their budget and now they're just ready to take the next step. So if that doesn't quite sound like you, that is okay. I have another video where I talk about 12 money habits for beginners in order to set the foundation for their personal finances. So I highly recommend that you check that video out if you are kind of starting from scratch. So in this video, we're going to talk more about investing, we're going to talk about retirement accounts. So if that's the information that you're looking for, definitely stick around. These are going to be practical steps with tangible outcomes to help you plan for your financial future. So if you like videos like this, please like, comment, subscribe, as it helps this knowledge to be shared with other people on YouTube. Tip number 1 is to have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved. Now I know if you watch my previous video, you're like, girl, you said $1,000 was fine. And I know, and that is the minimum that you should be saving. However, to truly have a buffer just in case something unexpected happens, like you stop working for whatever reason, it's pretty much the rule of thumb to have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up. Direction is more important than the speed. So as long as you're putting something away every single month and you're building your emergency fund, then you're doing a great job. So my next tip is to pay yourself first. Now I really love this tip, and it ties into even the first tip that I talked about, but basically it's saying before you pay your rent, before you pay your bills, before you pay your credit card, you are putting money aside in order to put in your savings. So when you determine how much money you're going to save, you make it a priority to put that money away every single month before you pay anything else. So not only will your future self thank you for saving consistently, but you should also feel good about saving in the moment and think of it as a sense of like self-care. I take this tip very seriously. I make sure to save, and my savings automatically comes out of my check every single month. And honestly, I take this tip even outside of just savings. When it comes to my time, I like pay myself first. So when I wake up in the morning, before I respond to text messages, before I look at my work calendar, before I answer any phone calls, I make sure that I carve out time for myself. I write out what I'm grateful for the day. I have a mantra. I say something good to myself to make myself feel good and really start my day off well. So essentially I'm paying myself first when it comes to my time in my morning, because it really helps. So my third tip is don't fall for the lifestyle creep. So if you've never heard of this before, let me read you the definition of lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep occurs when an individual's standard of living improves as their discretionary income rises and former luxuries become new necessities. The rise in discretionary income can happen either through an increase in income or decrease in cost. So let me give you an example of lifestyle creep. Let's say your salary is $60,000, okay? And then you have a roommate, you have enough money to take public transportation, and you meal prep every day. So now let's say you've been doing your job well, okay, it's promotion season, and you get promoted and you get an extra, $10,000 on top of your check. So now you're making $70,000. So now you're feeling yourself, you're feeling good. And now all of a sudden you're looking at your roommate and you're just like, oh, I can't stand how you leave your one cup in the sink. I'm moving out. Or you're like, I can't stand public transportation. It's dirty and it's annoying and it's crowded. Meanwhile, you've been taking public transportation for 5 years. So now your income and your expenses are rising at the same rate, and you really don't have the extra money to save more, invest more, and build more wealth. Now, lifestyle creep does not always have to happen with big expenses like finding your own place or getting a new car. It can be simple things as taking more Ubers than you used to, or instead of meal prepping, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna eat out for lunch. It can be, I don't want my flight to have any connections, I'm buying direct and there's nothing you can do. And these are all subtle things that I really do want you to think about when you are making your purchases, because just because you have more money technically does not mean that you should be spending more money. Remember, we are thinking about building wealth for the future, and the best way to do that is keeping your expenses low and your income high. Now, there is a caveat to that. So I definitely do agree that you should be able to upgrade your lifestyle in some way. After all, what's the point of working so hard if you're just going to be miserable the whole time? So my advice for avoiding the lifestyle creep while also still making sure to incorporate the things that bring you joy is to determine what are your non-negotiables, what are the things that you absolutely need to have. So let me give you an example. For me, when my income improved, I did not get rid of my roommate, get me a penthouse or anything like that. I did not get me a new car, or any car for that matter. I upped my savings, I upped my investments, and I personally, my non-negotiable is being able to travel. I like to travel a lot, I like to travel often, I like to travel to faraway places, and I decided to put more money into my travel fund. For me, it's all about balance. So I was able to up my savings, I was able to up my investments, and that's for my future self. And for my present self, I'm able to travel more, and I felt like that was a great balance and compromise. So for you, I would try to ask yourself, what do I absolutely need? What are my non-negotiables? So for some people, they're really like, I cannot live with anyone else. I have to have my own place. And if that is your non-negotiable, I say go for it. If you have the money to do it, go for it. Some people are like, I don't need much. I just need to get my nails done every 2 weeks. More power to you, 100% go for it. Choose the 1 or 2 things that you absolutely need to have, and then keep your expenses low on everything else. So my next tip is going to be to invest. I'm tired of hearing people tell me to invest because they don't tell me what to invest in. They don't tell me how to get started in investing. They don't tell me how to get over my fear of investing. They're just like, invest. I did not invest for a really long time because 1, it just really didn't make any sense to me, and 2, I felt like I couldn't get clear information about investing. So I was scared, and I'm like, okay, you're telling me to put my hard-earned dollars into the stock market or into this home or something like that, and I may or may not get my money back. Like, now I promise that I will create a video about investing for beginners to talk about all the things that I just mentioned. Unfortunately, this video is not long enough to talk about everything when it comes to investing. However, I do want to talk about the importance of investing in this video. Now, the reason that we do need to invest is because most people just can't get rich, or even if you don't want to be rich, you just want to be comfortable. That's going to be really hard to do with just savings. With investing, you get a return on your money, hopefully, and it grows your money without you having to do much. So it's so important to invest, especially when we invest early and often, because we have our friend compound interest on our side. Compound interest is the process in which an asset's earnings from either capital gains or interest are reinvested to generate additional earnings over time. So let me give you an example. Let's say you invest $100 and you expect an 8% return in year 1. So at the end of year 1, you'll have $108. Now, let's say year 2, you expect another 8% return. You're not getting a return on just the $100, you're getting a return on the $108. So at the end of year 2, you're going to have $116. As the years continue, your money will continue to grow. There are some really easy ways to get started with investing. Some of them include robo-investing, and that's something you can do with Wealthfront or Betterment. You can also invest in ETFs, which is just a collection of stocks, so that way your portfolio is automatically diversified, and then you also have bonds that you can invest in as well. My 5th tip is investing with intention. I just talked about the importance of investing, and now I want to talk about the importance of investing with intention. So let's say you want to retire at the age of 65. So it is said that you'll need about $1 million in order to successfully retire at the age of 65. In order to be able to get to that $1 million number, you'll most likely have to invest. It might be a bit difficult to save up to that number. Now, the reason that we want to invest with intention is because it's important to have that goal in mind and be able to work backwards in order to ensure that we are meeting that goal. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Right now, I'm on investor.gov, which is just a site that has a compound interest calculator. And on this site, we'll be able to see the difference between investing different amounts in order to reach certain numbers in a specific time frame. So let's say we are starting with an initial investment of $0. We have a monthly contribution of $420. We decide that we're going to be investing for 40 years. So let's say you're 25 and you're going to retire at the age of 65. And then you're going to have an estimated interest rate of about 7%, which is something that's very doable in the market. And then let's calculate that. So if you invest $420 in 40 years, then you're going to get that $1 million number. So this is mainly what I was talking about when it comes to compound interest. What we did, what this graph is showing us here, is that we contribute $200,000 over the course of 40 years, but due to our interest compounding on our investment, we actually end up with $1 million, which is pretty crazy. Now, if I change that number up just a bit, and let's say I decided to invest $100 a month. I'm going to scroll down and calculate this. As you can see, in 40 years, we'll have a very different number. We'll have $239,562. If I go down to the graph here, we have contributed $48,000. However, we have a much smaller amount that we're getting as a return. So we have a difference of more than $700,000, which is a huge deal. So if we ensure to calculate how much we need to save every month in order to meet our target, then we can better gauge exactly the steps that we need to take in order to meet our investing goals. My sixth tip is to pay off your high interest debt. So high interest debt is debt that has an interest rate of about 7 or 8% and up. What's more important than paying your debt off quickly is having a plan that's feasible for you and for your lifestyle to pay that debt off. So as I always say, it's not about the speed, it's about the direction. From a mindset perspective, I definitely see the benefit of paying off high interest debt. I know for me, I would have been a lot more adventurous, probably would be living abroad right now, I probably would have bought a house, I may have been a bit more risky when it comes to my career choices, but that's really just me. I think it was because I had this debt and I kind of felt like it was looming over me while I didn't make certain choices, because I knew that if everything kind of fell apart, if I didn't have any income, I still had these loans that I needed to pay off. So for me, it was really important to prioritize paying off my student loans. And what really helped me when it came to managing my debt and having a plan to pay it off was having a plan that didn't make me completely miserable, where I could still do fun things that I like to do. And for me, you already know that is traveling, that's hanging out with my friends. So being able to budget for that, but also having a plan that was slightly aggressive in order to pay my debt off. Now, I'm not saying that if you have debt that you can't take risk and that you can't kind of do the things that you want to do. I think you definitely can, but I think when it comes to a mindset perspective, everyone has a different risk tolerance. My risk tolerance when it came to having loans and doing all those things were pretty low, which is why I decided to prioritize paying off my loans. However, for someone else, they may be very comfortable switching jobs or going to a new country to live with having all of that debt, and that's just what makes them comfortable. So you really have to have that conversation with yourself. What are you able to be comfortable with when it comes to having your debt, and what is just going to stress you out? Tip number 7, take advantage of tax advantage retirement accounts. So let's start off with, what is a tax advantage retirement account? It's basically an account where you can buy different stocks, you can buy different bonds, ETFs, etc., and you get some type of tax advantage or tax bonus. There are a ton of retirement accounts, but I'll talk about 2. I'm going to talk about the traditional and Roth 401k and the traditional and Roth IRA. Typically, the tax advantage includes when you actually have to pay taxes. With the traditional 401ks and IRAs, you don't pay taxes now. Instead, your money is able to grow and you pay taxes presumably when you take out your money at the age of 59 and a half. With a Roth, either 401k or IRA, you pay taxes now, and when you take out your money from this account, let's say you're 59 and a half, then you don't have to pay taxes in the future. For your 401k, whether it's traditional or whether it's Roth, this is something that you would get through your employer. And the cool thing about this is if you contribute 6%, for example, to your 401k, your employer may also match your contribution, and you're essentially getting free money. The contribution definitely does vary by organization, so you would have to talk to your employer to figure out exactly how much they contribute, if they contribute, etc. So there's a couple of other things to consider when you do have a 401k. So first is that your annual contribution can only be up to $19,500, and that's just for you. That does not include the match from your employer. With an IRA account, it's very similar to a 401k account, except there are some differences. So this is, like I mentioned before, not something that you have to get through your employer. You can get it through any organization like Vanguard or Fidelity. The contribution is also lower than a 401k, so you are only able to contribute $6,000 a year. So the interesting thing about these accounts is that they are for retirement, and it is presumed that you will not use this money until you are at the age of retirement or at the age of 59 and a half. So if you do plan to put your money in these accounts, please also plan not to extract that money from these accounts until you are 59 and a half, or else you will incur at least a 10% penalty. Tip number 8. Let's talk about employee stock purchase plans. So this is really cool because this is where an employee can purchase a company's stock at a discounted rate. In some cases, the discount can be up to 15%, which is great. This is something I wish I would have done when I first started working at my organization, because from the time that I started working to now, the stock has doubled, and I completely missed out on that. So don't be like me, and if your company does have an employee stock purchase plan or ESPP, then make sure to get on it ASAP. Tip number 9, introduce your next stream of income. You. Yep, you, sis or sir. If you've been thinking about your side hustle, your next stream of income, take this video as the indication that it is time. It is time to introduce your next stream of income. So if you are in a place where you have your budget in order and you have a plan to pay down your debt, now is definitely the time to think about what your next stream of income is going to be. So some people opt for things like Uber or DoorDash or something like that. Some people opt for babysitting. Some people opt for blogging, freelance writing, whatever. Like, the list goes on and on with the different ways that you can make money outside of your primary job. So the really cool thing with having your next stream of income is that you can really use this as a time to hone a new skill. So try something new, learn how to do a different trade, learn about something that maybe you don't learn about in your primary job. So take this as a time to really learn more and to educate yourself on something and make some good money while you do it too. So I'm sure you've already heard the phrase that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income, so clearly it's time for us to get on it, okay? So I'm definitely going to make a video talking about how you can make real money and introduce your second stream of income. But in the meantime, comment below and tell me what your next stream of income is going to be. Tip number 10. So tip number 10 is going to be to plan your financial milestones. So it's really, really important to have some type of plan to determine when you want to achieve certain things. So this is not to say that you 100% have to stick to this plan, but having a plan will help you to determine what you need to get to that milestone. So some financial milestones may include maybe you want to buy a house by a certain age. Maybe you want to go back to school. Perhaps you want your savings account to have a certain figure, a couple more zeros. Maybe you want to take a year off and travel. These are all things that you need to know relatively when you want to do them so that you can start planning from now and working backwards in order to determine what do I need to do now to get there within a certain amount of time. So for example, let's say you're like, yeah, I want to buy a house in 3 years. However, when you say, okay, I want to buy a house in 3 years and I need a $50,000 down payment in order to buy that house. So that means if you do your little calculations, you have to essentially save $1,300 every single month in order to have $5,000 in 3 years. Now, I think after you determine how much you need to save in order to meet your goal, the next thing you'll want to determine is that actually feasible for you? Do you have $1,300 every month to put away for that house? If not, now it's time to determine how you get that $1,300 or if you should be moving your timeline back. But having some type of timeline and being able to work and plan backwards in that way really helps you to know if your goals are actually feasible. It's just really important to understand that financial goals don't just happen. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm gonna buy a house this month. It doesn't work that way. You have to be strategic and you have to plan for them. However, I am more than confident that we have everything we need in order to successfully plan for all the things that we want in our lives. So one thing that's really important to remember when you are creating your goals is that they need to be specific, they need to be tangible, and they need to be realistic. So you want to say something like, I want to buy a house in 3 years and I need to save $50,000 for the down payment. So that way you know how long you're working with, how much money you need to save. I incorporate my financial goals into my budget tracker, and I make sure that there is a line item in my budget for every financial goal that I have, and that really helps me to keep on track and stay motivated. Alright you guys, now I know that was a ton of information, but I hope that you have found it helpful. Again, I know so many of us watch these YouTube videos and we're like, oh, that was awesome, that was great, can't wait to do all these things. What I don't want to happen is you leave this video and then you feel overwhelmed because you feel like you need to incorporate everything I said, because you absolutely do not. As I always say, it is about direction, not speed. So what I want to encourage you to do is to choose one thing that you aren't currently doing and letting me know in the comment section below. Once you have mastered it, come back to this video, let me know what you implemented, how it worked for you, and then choose the next thing, because I believe in baby steps to get into this money. Alright you guys, if you like videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you all again for rocking with me through this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye you guys.